coach at the Ohio State University?
It happens a lot where I just kind of pinch myself because when you think about the great tradition of Ohio State, all the wonderful people that have come before, the 13 decades. This year is the 100th year anniversary of Ohio Stadium, and walk down the Woody Hall or the Woody Hayes athletic hallway, and you see some of the great coaches that have come before, and Woody Hayes, Earl Bruce, and Jim Tressel, Urban Meyer, John Cooper. You see the great players that have come before. It just, you have to really pinch yourself because it means a lot. And we talk to our team about that. We talk about that in recruiting, is that it's our job to hold up that standard. And there's no other place that's better than Ohio State to be the head football coach.
Ryan, when you said it would take about $13 million for NIL to help retain your roster, or was it 10, or was it 15? Where'd you come up with 13?
Well, I think when you look at our literally the last year, our guys have done exceptionally well. And really the way that name, image, and likeness was put into place is what our guys have done. They've made a lot of money off of their name, image, and likeness. And so when you look at Ohio State and you look at where we're positioned with the city of Columbus, the companies that are in Columbus, the brand of Ohio State football, the fan base, you can see that the potential is off the chart. And so what you try to do is figure out what's going on out there. Now, when you mix in, collectives across the country, when you mix in the one-time transfer rule, you have to do the best you can to project out what you think is right for your team. And we're going to be great advocates for our players, and we're going to be aggressive. A lot of teams are being aggressive out there. And so we're going to do the best we can to project that out. And every day it kind of changes, as the landscape's changing, but we're going to try to do the best we can to project that out.
Scott Frost said you were with Chip Kelly in New Hampshire when he called about UCLA and SC joining the Big Ten. Can you recall that story?
We were on the golf course together at his tournament, and we're on the 16th hole, and we found out about halfway through that hole that we were in the same conference together. So, and we had a great laugh about that, and got quick calls from Gene Smith and Martin, and learned more about that. But we're very excited. It's exciting for both of us and both of our programs.
What did Coach Kelly think about?
Just same thing. Just very excited. I think it's we're now part of a national conference, coast to coast, and it's big moving forward.
You mentioned the collectors.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't thought about that much. I'm not going to look forward to playing against him as a good friend. So we still got a couple more years before we have to think about that.
Ryan, you mentioned the collectives. Do you view them as a necessary evil? Are you happy they exist? Like, how do you view? I know Ohio State has a couple. One run by Brian Schott and Steve Cardale and those guys. Do you like what they're doing? Are you a fan of that? How do you view it?
I don't know if I'm a fan. I don't know. I just know that we have to adapt, and that's what you have to focus on. I don't know if there's any other sport, business where you have third parties who are, a part of what's going on, like what's going on right now in college football. It's very, very unique. I think it's strange, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I need to see a change in here or there, anywhere. I just think that we need to adapt and try to figure it out. So that's what we're going to do. I think when you look at the last 4 years, certainly my first 4 years as the head football coach at Ohio State, if you said this is what's going to happen, I just would never believed it. And so I think we've just come to the understanding that every year there's going to be a lot of change, and you can't sit there and throw your hands up and get frustrated. You have to be able to adapt, and right now, part of adapting are these collectives.
Ryan, what was different about Michigan last year, facing them, compared to some of the other years that you've gone up against them?
Say it one more time.
What was different about facing Michigan last year compared to some of the other years you've gone up against them?
Well, every year we have the same expectation. And the first goal was to beat the team up north and win the rivalry game, and that didn't happen. And so, we had to sit on that for a calendar year, and that's not good. We don't want to have to go through that again. And so in the off season, we've tried to really make sure that the guys are reminded of that game, that the coaches are reminded of that game, everybody in the building's reminded of that game, but also know that we have to move forward. We can't let that game beat us twice, but it's something that we never want to have to go through again.
find there's been some talk the NCAA may allow more than just one
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just it's hard for me to think that guys can just kind of transfer whenever they want, as many times as they want. I really wish that there was some more structure in place. Again, when you think about all the other sports, all the other organizations, whether it's high school, whether it's college, whether it's professional, there really isn't any other situation where someone can just decide to leave at any point. And so I think that, again, creates a lot of hard feelings. And as we move forward, whether it's the NIL world or this transfer world, I just think there needs to be more structure involved. And whether it's at least a 2-year commitment or something along the lines. And again, that's over my pay grade. I got to worry about trying to beat Notre Dame and getting my team ready. But it's certainly something that I think we got to look at and come up with a solution for. Right. I do it all over again. Yeah, I do it all over again. I just think that's the job, and I've come to accept that. But it doesn't make it easy. Doesn't mean there's not nights where you don't sleep very well because you don't know what's coming. But I think that's the part where, as you look forward, you really don't know what's coming tomorrow. You can plan for the future, but just try to do a great job with right now and just try to maximize the day and do the best you can and do what's best for the program at the time.
Defensively, can you elaborate on your comment about the goal being a top 10 defense? Do you see parallels with 2019, your first year?
I hope so, yeah.
Go ahead.
I hope so. I think when you look at that team, every team's different, so you can't really compare. But I think what you're getting at is you had a team that was kind of had some really good young talent that got experience the year before, kind of a new style and system of defense coming in that year. You're kind of seeing those two things come together. Now we got to go put it on the field, but that the expectation is a top 10 offense every year, and the expectation of a top 10 defense. We did that year, and we had a strong team. So I think when you combine those two things, if we can build on it, then that should be our expectation every year.
What in your eyes is the most critical thing to open the door for that to happen?
Say it again, I'm sorry.
What's the most critical at this point to having it?
Yeah, you got to stop the run. You got to stop the run, and certainly, there's a couple games last year that didn't get done, and we got to do that. So a lot of that has to do with technique, a lot has to do with scheme, a lot has to do with toughness, and I think the scheme that's being put in place, the mentality that's being put into place, but again, also having another year of experience with some of these guys who maybe didn't play as much, the year before. They now are all coming back, whether it's second-year guys, third-year guys, or fourth-year guys. Going into last year, when you look at that Minnesota game, they didn't have a lot of game experience. Now going into this game, it's a whole new feel. I mean, the quarterback had never thrown a college pass. You look at all the guys all of our linebackers, I don't think they had one college start ever, because you lost Pete, you lost Tuff, you lost Barron, and then you lost Justin Hilliard that were coming off of last year. So there was so many young guys going into that season, and it showed. But hopefully all of that can now pay dividends this season.
As you watched it this spring, the defense, were you sitting there at any time going, yeah, that's what I want?
Yeah.
When you hired Jim Knowles,
Yeah.
you remember those moments?
Yeah. And the ones that offhand is just, a bunch of guys running the ball and blowing up the play in the backfield with about 10 guys jumping up and down all over each other with great energy, great passion, great confidence, talking, and that's what you want. Guys playing tough with great pad level, knocking the heck out of people. I mean, that's what defensive football, should look like. And we saw some of that this spring, and I think our defense has been edgy, and that's the way they should be.
Ryan, what did you know of Jim Knowles before last season? That was like a career year.
I knew of him back when he was at Cornell. I followed him when he was at Duke, and then obviously watched him when I was at Oklahoma State. And this is somebody that has answers. He's been around it. As he says, he's put in his 10,000 hours, and that's good. And plus, he has some head coaching experience. He's able to run the entire defense. And that's important in our structure. The way that we have it designed right now at Ohio State is to have a head coach of the defense, and that's what he's doing. And when that thing's rolling right, we had that like in 19 we talked about. That was about as efficient as it could get. And so I think Jim brought that to the table, and so far so good.
You need to see that. I don't know, this improvement in the defense maybe help you in the recruiting trail. You can not just tell the idea of guys coming in and improving the defense, being a part of something that's already low.
Yeah, I think when you change a defense as drastically as we have, a lot of people want to see what this is going to look like, and it's not reinventing the game. So there's still a lot of things that this is what we're going to do, and I think it's pretty easy to see for recruits to see, how we're going to run it based on Jim's past and some of the guys in that room, and Perry and Tim and Larry, because a part of it is development too, not just the scheme, but the development. So, the recruits have been excited about that, but I also think they're excited to see what this is going to look like.
Right, you guys have, maybe you can't talk about specific work. There have been a few high-profile defensive prospects in the last week or so that you guys were seemingly in a good position for, you didn't land. And I'm wondering if any part of that might be that they need to see some proof of concept from this defense before they're really able to buy in to what you guys are saying.
No, I think our recruiting class is strong. We're still, the goal is always to be top 10 in the country, or top 5 in the country in recruiting class, and I think we will be this year. We'll see how it plays out. But I think our defensive guys have done a really good job recruiting. They're hustling like crazy and really working at it. But I'm sure those guys do want to see that. But I also think that they understand that we got some really good guys. It's about development. When it's Larry Johnson up front, developing the D-line, or what Tim Walton's done in the NFL and being a former Buckeye, he's worked with some of the best corners in the country, and Coach Eliano, what he did with the guys at Cincinnati last year. So a big part of it is that, and obviously Jim's background. But I do think guys are excited to see what this looks like, and I think when they see the energy and a bunch of guys flying around like that, it's going to be much easier sell.
Is stability any part of that too? That it's a program that's had, I think, 4 coordinators in 5 years, and there's been multiple defensive assistants over that time too. And I know you want your staff to be stable, but you need to project that to recruits as well to, I guess, have that be more consistent.
Well, I think that was why it was big. We had some carryover in the last couple of years with our staff, and thought long and hard about the changes that were made, because, like you said, going into this year, are we going to make a hard change and really make a change philosophically? Because there's some things that come with that, and just decided that was the right thing to do. And I'm excited about it. I think it's the right thing to do. I think we've recruited well. I think we have a really talented defense, and that's the goal. And so it's a long way to signing day, and we'll keep battling at this thing, and keep working through the fall. But I think we'll end up signing a really good defensive class.
At linebacker, you expect that Tommy and Steele will be kind of the 2 main guys. I know there's a lot of guys that can mix. I think you guys have 9 scholarship linebackers. Do you expect Tommy and Steele to kind of be at the front of the list, so to speak?
Yeah, they'll be right there, and Cody will be right there. We got a bunch of guys there that I think are going to fight for some time. But that's a competition going to the preseason that'll be fun to watch. Cody had the shoulder, so it'll be fun to see him kind of play. I thought Tommy really played well in the spring, and so C.J. Hicks did a nice job. Actually, Chip coming in and making the transition to linebacker was great. So we got some guys in there, and it was good to get EA back and kind of see how he can help us. So like you said, we do have some depth there, but who's going to take the next step as the starters, I don't think we'll know until the first couple weeks of the preseason.
Coach, what do you know about Notre Dame's history and the rich history, and what are you telling your players in the locker room to prepare for that game?
Well, they're already preparing now. So by the time you get to that locker room, it's kind of all the hay's in the barn, and I think that's part of the first game is just the lead up to it, and making sure that you're preparing, but you're not overdoing it as well, because you got to go play. It's going to be an electric atmosphere. Notre Dame has unbelievable tradition, just unbelievable players and coaches that have come before. And somebody asked me, like, who has a better tradition? And they're not, one's not better than the other. It's just 2 different traditions, but it's exciting. I think a lot of people are very excited to see that game in the Horseshoe.
And as far as the quarterback battle that they're going through